ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्म विद्वरम् सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रयविनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। Hari Om, salutations to all. So in Bhagavatam we are on book 2, discourse 4 we had completed. We are on discourse 5. So we saw Parikshit Raja had asked some questions about the creation, and Shukdev ji, before he replies, he invokes the Supreme Lord and his glories we saw about. And after that, at the end of the discourse 4, we saw that he tells Parikshit Raja that similar question was asked earlier by Narad ji to Brahma ji about creation. And so he is going to explain what Narad ji had asked to Brahma ji and what was Brahma ji's reply. So this is the Puranic style where the knowledge is passed on through the tradition. And also they will not say this is my understanding. They will say this is what I have heard in the past from my teachers. And so we find here that Narad ji had given this knowledge. See, Brahma ji gave to Narad ji. The knowledge of Bhagavad etc. Narad ji gave to Vedavyas ji. Vedavyas ji then taught Shukdev ji, and Shukdev ji gave to now Parikshit. So that's how the tradition is coming. Now why this is important? Because from both the standpoints, from the standpoint of a student also, many times the student who is asking the question thinks of oneself very smart, that oh, nobody has asked such a question before. It's a unique question that I am asking. When the teacher says this same question was asked by somebody in the past, the ego in the mind of the student, if it is there, goes. Yo, there are intelligent people in the past also. I am not the only one who is intelligent. So I am not the first one to ask such a question. Because many people are in love with the question and the sense of a certain accomplishment they have got, or certain feeling of being intelligent that they have got. They love that more than the answer to that question. Here, of course, Parikshit Raja is of a different caliber altogether. He is not having that bhav. But we have to understand that the style of the Puranas is like that because lots of people read the Purana. Everybody is not like Parikshit Maharaj. So many times the thoughts do come like that. So one is that the speaker, the listener understands that I have not asked something very unique. This has been discussed in the past. And the speaker also, when the speaker gives the knowledge that this was given earlier by such and such great master or by the Lord, the speaker also is not having the ego that I am giving this knowledge. The speaker also doesn't feel that this something that my philosophy it is. So the knowledge which is given is a time-tested knowledge. Does not create ego in the speaker or in the listener. The importance of parampara also one understands. That what is the importance of this parampara? That it is come from the Lord Any parampara, if you actually trace the Guru parampara, if you actually trace Guru Shishya's parampara which is there, it will ultimately go back to the Supreme Lord. So when we say that Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum, or Shivji is the Adi Yogi, he is the first Guru, Adi Guru, sorry, not Adi Yogi, Adi Guru, he is the first Guru. So there is one Shiva Parampara, there is a Vishnu Parampara. And so the Guru Parampara will trace to the Lord only. And hence all knowledge comes from Bhagwan. With that humility, one shares the knowledge. Even when somebody asks a question to us, when we answer, we may answer as per our understanding, but from where did that understanding come? It came from the Lord only. The knowledge came from the Lord, the buddhi also which understands came from the Lord, the capability in the buddhi to understand also came from the Lord. Same way in the opposite person, in the speaker, the knowledge came from the Lord, understanding came from the Lord, the capability to speak and share the knowledge, that also came from the Lord only. So that bhav is very important. So when somebody asks us anything, we should see what is the basis of the knowledge that we are sharing. What is the Shastra saying? If we don't know, we should refer, understand, find out, then give the answer. Then there are many things that happen in this, that we get anchored in the knowledge of the scripture, 1. 2, no ego. 3, we do justice to the question. And we prevent ourselves from doing any form of harm or injustice to this knowledge because of our lack of clarity and understanding. Because if we answer from our own head, how much do we know? Our intelligence is very small, very limited. How much can we answer and what can we answer? Deeper questions like this, creation, etc., require a very different type of a mindset. And we may not even have experienced any of this yet. So one has to rely on the wisdom of the great masters, people who have experienced these things. And from where did they get? They got from the Lord through revelations. So we will not do any injustice to the knowledge because of our limitations of our buddhi. Some of you are sevak sevikas, or some of you may even generally share sometimes with anybody in your family, friends, anywhere. So it becomes a responsibility of a seeker to do justice to the scripture as well as to the questioner. One should not lead the questioner to some wrong answer or an answer which is not valid or time tested, or an answer which is having some loopholes. No, but what about creativity? Expression can be our freedom. Knowledge is rooted in the scripture. Like Gurudev brought out the BMI chart, that is his innovativeness. But where is the knowledge coming from? It's not his knowledge. Rooted in the Shastra only. And that is brought out as a chart. Expression can be our creativity, but the knowledge must be time tested and based on the Shastra. Now see, a person like Shukdev ji, who is already one with Bhagavan, he could have told directly that this is what the knowledge is, this is how Brahmaji creates. If person like Shukdev ji says, Narad ji asked this question earlier and Brahmaji gave this knowledge to him, which I am now giving to you through the parampara. Now what to talk about us? One more important point to understand. When we speak about parampara, it is a jivant parampara, meaning it is a parampara which is alive. Because we should remember the Guru is never a body. Guru is the self. Form may not be there, but Guru is really Antaryami, within the heart. So when we say from Brahmaji to Naradji to Vedavyasji to Shukdevji to Parikshit, that whole parampara from Brahmaji to Shukdevji, they are not dead. Even now when we are reading Bhagavatam, Bhagavan is the source. And whatever the parampara through which this knowledge has come to us, all of them, that whole Guru parampara is alive. When I say alive, we generally think only about a body, body is alive. Alive doesn't mean only the body. The presence is there. Vedavyas Maharshi is a Chiranjeevi. I'm saying even from body standpoint. Till this Kalpa last, Vedavyasji is there in the physical form. But even otherwise, Bhagwan is the source of all life. And through that parampara, when it has come down till our Guru, from whom we have learned, and then we pass it on, that whole parampara is alive. The tradition is alive. So the grace of the entire Guru parampara also we invoke on ourselves and the disciples, disciple meaning student or the questioner, whoever it is, by accessing this knowledge and by invoking. Now, when Shukdev ji has invoked the Lord, you see what did Shukdev ji do? He invoked Bhagavan. Then he invoked his own teacher also, Vedavyas ji. Then he is narrating the conversation. So Ishvara and Guru, both of them are invoked. Just now when we chanted the invocation, what did we do? That is what we did. So the invocation is not to be chanted mechanically. It is to be to tune up the mind. That when we say Sahana Avatu, we tune up with the Lord. When we say, Samasta Jana Kalyane, tune up with Gurudev. When we say Satchidananda Rupaya, tune up with the form of Shri Krishna. So Guru Tattva and Ishvara, both of them, they are not two, they are one. But as far as the Srishti is concerned, when there is a functional division which is there, then yes, Ishvara manifests in the particular form of the Guru also. So remember the Guru, remember the Ishvara, and then give the knowledge so that we become zero, we become empty. And whatever has to flow through us will flow. And that's why the place on which a speaker sits is actually called Vyaspeeth. Vyaspeeth means where Vyasa Maharshi is sitting and talking. The speaker is not talking, speaker becomes zero. So wherever we are giving this knowledge, remembering the Lord and say becoming empty is the best sadhana to do. Then whatever knowledge has to come from the Shastra, one should explain. And many times we quote also, this is given in this scripture, this is said by such a great master. So that there is a clarity that what one is saying is not just off the head. Our buddhi has a lot of limitations. Logical limitation it has. So many negativities it has. Vikara it is called. So many vikaras it has. It has limitation of knowledge itself. How much does this buddhi know? It has limitation of experience also. This is the knowledge which is attained by transcending the buddhi. We are right now trapped inside the buddhi. I think I am the jiva. So buddhi has severe limitations. And hence here it is that we find that Naradji has now approached Brahmaji. That portion starts here in 5th chapter. And that is what Shukdevji is now narrating to Parikshit Raja. So you see the 5th chapter. Naradji is asking questions to Brahmaji. Narada Uvacha Deva Deva Namastestu Bhuta Bhavana Purvaja Tadvijanihi Yadhnyanam Atma Tattva Nidarshanam. He's saying Deva Deva Namastestu. My salutations to the Lord of Lords, Bhuta Bhavana Purvaja. You are the creator of all the beings and you are Purvaja. Purva actually means earlier, meaning you are the first born. Here it is said forefather of all. That is one meaning. For our forefathers are called Purvaja. But if you split the word, then Purva means early, Ja, born, means the earliest born, the first born. Tad vijanihi yajnanam atma tattva nidarshanam. He says, give me that knowledge which you know, which makes a person realize the self. Yadrupam yad adhishtanam yata srishtimidam prabho yat samstham yat param yatcha tat tattvam vada tattvataha. So he says here that please tell me about this whole universe. Srishtimidam yataha. From where this Srishti came. Yad Rupam, what is the form? Yad Adhishtanam, what is the base? O Prabhu. Yat Samstham, what sustains it? And Yat Param, what is beyond this? Tat Tattvam, tell me about that Tattva which is beyond creation and which is also the cause of the creation, sustenance and destruction. You please tell me that. Sarvam hetad bhavan veda bhuta bhavya bhavat prabhu karamalakavad vishwam vijnanavasitam tava. He says, you know all this because he is the creator. He says, Sarvam hetad bhavan veda. All this you know. What? Past, present, future, everything. Bhuta bhavya bhavat prabhu. Kara amalakavad. Like a amla fruit in the hand. This is a famous analogy in the scriptures. Always they use this. How clear is that amla fruit in one's hand? One can see it so clearly. Of course, that example has a limitation in the sense that amla fruit is a finite thing and then you can see clearly through the senses. Meaning as clearly as one can perceive this amla fruit, you are perceiving that clearly through the intuition, this knowledge. So, Kara Amalakavad Vishwam Vijnana Vasitam Tava. This whole universe, the knowledge about it is there in your mighty intellect, in your Vijnana Vasitam Tava. It is there in your buddhi. Meaning you know it as clearly as one sees a amla fruit. So you please tell me about this creation. Now see in the second shloka here, what is said? Yat param, that is one word which is used. What is that supreme power? Now yat param has two meanings. What is that supreme power? Param means supreme power. Param also means beyond. So what is that which is beyond? Meaning what is the word adhisthana also is used. No? Yat param yad adhishthanam. So there is a power that is sustaining this, that has created this, which is a supreme power, which is beyond this also. So you please tell me about that. Yad vijnano yad adharo yad parastvam yad atmakaha ekasrijasi bhutani bhutairevatma mayaya. So here he says that yad vijnano, you have this special knowledge. Yad adharo yad parastvam yad atmakaha. He says, what is the support of your knowledge? Very beautiful it is. What is the source of your special knowledge and by whom are you supported? To what power do you owe your allegiance and what is your essential nature? Single-handed, you create all beings out of 5 elements by dint of your own Maya. Now you think about it, Brahmaji is being asked by Naradji about what? See, there's no question of Brahmaji feeling insulted or even Naradji feeling a sankoch. What a straightforward question it is, that you are no doubt creator and you are creating with your Maya, but who is the source of your power? Brahmaji didn't feel insulted, saying that, how dare you ask me that? I am only creating, there's nothing behind me. Brahmaji doesn't feel insulted. Naradji also has no fear. How can I ask this question? Though he knows that Brahmaji is doing all this, but there is some power behind Brahmaji. He wants to know that. That's why earlier was Yat Param, Yad Adhishthanam. See the maturity of conversation that is happening. No fear from the student side to say, what is your power? What means who is behind your power? And no ego in the teacher to feel that how can the student ask me? The student is underestimating my power. This is called mature conversation. It is not rude, it is straight, and it is frank and fearless. Ask, what is there which is behind you? Who is the source of your power, your strength? See, yad vijnano yadadharo yad parastvam yad atmakaha ekasrijasi bhutani bhutairevatma mayaya. Beautiful line this is actually. In the underline earlier. So that is his question. Atman bhavaya se tani na parabhavayan swayam atma shaktima vastabhya urnanabhirivaklamaha. Atman bhavaya se tani. Say you bring it out from yourself. Na parabhavayan swayam. And you don't bring out from some other cause. Atma Shaktim Avashtabhya, using your own power, you bring out. Like how? Urnanabhiriva aklama. Like how the spider brings out its web. Now, this is a Upanishad analogy. Mundaka Upanishad says, Yatha Urnanabhi srijate grannate cha. That how the creation comes about as a spider brings forth the web. So we have seen earlier also, every creation has 3 causes. One is the material cause, one is the instrumental cause, one is the intelligent cause. Upadan Karan, material cause. Then Karan Karan, instrumental cause. And Nimitta Karan, intelligent cause. So in a pot, the mud is the material cause, Upadan Karan. The wheel is the instrumental cause, Karan Karan. And the potter is the intelligent cause, Nimitta Karan. If these 3 come together, then the pot gets created. Pot is called Karya, effect. These 3 are Karana, cause. Now in this example, all the 3 are different. Pot is different from the potter, mud is different from the potter, and wheel is different from mud and potter. All 3 causes are different. Because the effect which is produced also is finite. The cause which are there are also finite. So a finite is producing a finite. But when we see the Srishti, Srishti cannot have a finite cause because Srishti itself is infinite. There is no boundary to Srishti. There is no space-wise limit. The Srishti starts here, ends here. There is no time-wise limit. It continuously goes on. Cycles of creation go on happening. From manifest, unmanifest to manifest, manifest to unmanifest, again unmanifest to manifest, it goes on. Temporarily it appears that time got destroyed. It doesn't. It goes only back to unmanifest, again it starts. Like in our life, every night we go to deep sleep, again come back, again time is there. It goes on. Object wise also it is not finite. So many objects are there. Jiva wise also it is not finite. Many people think there are finite number of jivas. Infinite number of jivas. So Srishti itself is infinite. How can the cause of the Srishti be anything finite? So the cause of the universe has to be infinite. Now when we say infinite, then everything is included in the infinite and nothing is outside the infinite. So the infinite is the material cause, is the instrumental cause, is the efficient cause. All the three, intelligent cause. All the three is the infinite only. So what is the example for that? Two examples. One is this Urnanabhi and other is dream. Where all the three are same. So spider is the intelligent cause, spider is the material cause, spider is the instrumental cause. And what is the effect? The web. From its own self, the spider brings out the web. So spider only is all the three. Just like in our dream, everything comes out. In the dream state, the dreamer, the dream world, the dream creatures is all there in the waker's mind only. So that's why he's saying here that you bring out this whole creation like the spider spins the web. And the spider sports in that. So what it means, this whole universe is an appearance of that one supreme, and that one supreme is playing in this whole universe. Like the spider goes around in its web. So Brahmaji is asked that question. You remember earlier it was said whether it's a evolution or whether it's a projection. So Urnanabhi is like that. Like the projection, the cause is one. The one cause, like the dream example, is the projection example. One cause, which is the waker's mind, gets projected by the power of the waker's mind to forget itself and to become the dreamer and then create the whole dream world. As it is. There is no evolution happening in that dream world. Projected as it is. So that is called projection. Appearance. Other aspect is evolution. Slowly it will evolve. The spider example is more fit for that. Spider, though it brings out of itself, in stages it will create the web. The whole web doesn't come out one shot. It will spin and it will create. Slowly the whole web will get created. So you will see the theory of creation comes ahead. Now what happens is, when this theory of creation is given, because there is a certain sequence given in this, we feel that creation is an evolution, so it is real. Vedanta says, no, this is the trick. This is the trick. That because there is a certain sequence given doesn't mean creation is real. One. Why? Because these three causes, material, instrumental and intelligent cause, when they come together, they make the infinite appear as the finite and as evolving, which is why the Maya word is used. Atma Shaktim Avashtabhya. And in the earlier verse, Bhutai Revatma Mayaya. So it is an appearance that happens. The evolution of this, you will see the theory of creation will come now. But just because the theory of creation has a certain level of evolution does not mean that the creation is actually real. We should not forget that part. The evolution is a part of projection. That has to be understood properly. Evolution is a part of the projection only, and projection means it is unreal. Because sometimes we have only these two exclusive scenarios. So we think either projection or evolution, but evolution can be a part of this projection now. Why can't it be? In dream you may grow or not. From a child to a youth to you may grow. So why it is not possible? So what happens is this, that evolution should not be mixed up to think it is real. It is a part of this projection. It is one supreme infinite which is appearing as all this. So when we see the theory of creation in detail, when Brahmaji answers, you will see that this is a subtle point which is hidden there. Generally we get lost in the sequence. Oh, from this came this came this, oh, from here. Then we start comparing. In Tattvabodh, this was the theory. In Upanishad, this is the theory. In Bhagavad, this is the theory. That is the whole point. You may find some differences. In Upanishads, there are so many theories of creation. If creation was real, there could be one theory only. But the very fact that this different theories are there with some variation here and there. In some Upanishads, there are not even 5 elements, there are only 3. So many theories of creation are there. Why? Because it is not real. Because it is continuously changing. So what is that which is appearing as this? That is what Naraji is asking. He wants to know the substratum of this creation. Meaning he wants to know waker's mind. Dreamer is Brahmaji here. Naradji is one dream character produced by the dreamer's mind, who is asking the dreamer, what is the source of you? What is your power? From where are you getting the source to do all this dream creation, which is a projection actually? So that is the question. And so that's what he's asking. Atman bhavaya setani napara bhavayan swayam Atmashaktima Vastabhya Urnanabhirivaklamaha Naham Veda Param Yasmin Naparam Nasamam Vibho Nama Rupa Gunair Bhavyam Sadasat Kinchidanyataha. So he says, Naham Veda Param. Naham Veda Param hi Asmin Na Aparam Na Samam Vibho. So he says, of all that is known through a certain name, form, qualities in the world, I know nothing animate or inanimate, high or low or mediocre, which has its source in anything other than you. Meaning all that is there in this creation has come from Brahmaji. But where did Brahmaji get this from? So Naraji wants to know those aspects. Brahmaji is knower of everything in this creation because he has created. So that was earlier what he said, Bhuta Bhavya Bhavat Prabhu. You know the past, present, future because it is his Srishti. So he knows everything in this creation. And so Naraji is saying that of all that is known through name, form, qualities, because these are the ways to know things. When even we meet somebody, what do we ask? What is your name? What do you do? What do you like? We want to know. So name, form, qualities. Through that we know. So here he says, there is nothing inanimate, animate, high, low, which has not come from you. You are the source of all. Nama Rupa Gunair Bhavyam Sadasat Kinchid Anyataha. There is nothing which has not come from you, meaning you are the source of all. Sabhavan Acharat Ghoram Yat Tapa Susamahitaha Tena Khedayase Nastvam Parashankam Prayachasi. So he says, you are the all-knowing and you are the ruler of all. So he says, I ask you all this because you are the creator. He says, please instruct me that I can understand your teachings properly. That is the next one actually. Etan me pritchata sarvam sarvajna sakaleshwara. Vijanihi yathai vedam aham buddhyena anushasitaha. The previous one, Sa Bhavan Acharad Ghoram Yat Tapas Susamahitaha Tena Khedayase Nastvam Parashankam Prayachasi. He says that you have also practiced lot of tapasya. Ghoram Yat Tapaha Acharad, meaning you have done Ghor Tapasya in the past. So it is said that after Brahmaji was created, he was doing tapasya. And Narayan Bhagwan was pleased with him. And he gave the knowledge through Saraswati to Brahmaji in his heart. Then the Vedas, etc. came out and then the creation started. So before that he was doing tapasya. That's what Naraji is referring here. Sa bhavan acharad ghoram yat tapasu samahita. Tena khedayase nastvam parashankam prayachasi. He says, you amaze us. You know, the word you used here is you bewilder us and lead us to suspect that there is someone higher than you. Parashankam prayachasi. Meaning you are doing tapasya and you have great concentration power. So that means you are meditating on somebody else. What is that power? From where do you get your source, your energy? You please tell me this. So now these are the questions of Naradji. To know the source about Brahmaji's strength and how this creation then has come about. Because nothing in the creation can be a part of the creation, nor the creator himself is having independent power, but there is some source behind. So Naradji wants to know about that, and then of course how the creation happened. So now Brahmaji answers. Brahma uvacha samyak karunikasyedam vatsate vichikitsitam yadaham chodita saumya bhagavad virya darshane. See, this is such a nice line here. As I said earlier, Brahmaji didn't take it personally. He didn't say that, how can you ask me my source? In the world, if you go and ask somebody, they will say like that, no? Because they want praise for themselves. If you go and ask them, you are brilliant, but what is the secret behind this thing, behind your brilliance? It's not your power, it's somebody else's power. It is. They will get offended. But Brahmaji, how he says, you see, says Samyak, what you have inquired is wonderful and it is full of karuna. Karunikasya idam vatsa. Vatsa means oh child, because he is Manas Putra of Brahmaji. What you have asked, vichikitsitam. What you have asked is with a lot of compassion. Why? Because yadaham chodita saumya. So he says that when he will reveal this, it will be the glory of that Lord. So to reveal the glory of the Lord with lot of compassion, you have asked this question. And I am happy to answer. This is humility of creator or not. If Brahmaji can have such humility and accept that whatever I am is because of the grace of Narayana, then what about you and I? We are the small creature in his creation. So how much more humility should one have? We create some little things and then we feel proud about that. Brahmaji is the creator of this whole universe. And that Brahmaji feels glorious that, I got a chance to revel in the glory of that Lord because of whom I exist and because of whom this whole creation is also possible. So that is a bhav. Actually, this is a bhav that every seeker should have and every teacher also should have. Especially Brahma Vidya, when we are sharing, that we get an opportunity to revel in the glory of Bhagavan, to remember, and to continuously think about the Lord, because otherwise what are we going to think? Sit and think about worldly things or Maya and get more and more bound there. Better we get a chance. So when we do a class, whether it is for Bal Vihar or Shishu Vihar or for anyone, Yuva Kendra, elders, anybody, it is our sadhana that is happening. Gurudev used to always tell like that. It is your manan sadhana. It is your loud reflection. And don't think you are teaching anybody, because you cannot teach anybody. Your higher mind telling your own lower mind. It is our mind telling our lower mind, come on, remember the Lord and unite with the Lord. Surrender to that Lord. So that Brahmaji is saying that. Nandritam tava tacchapi yatha mam prabhravishi bhoho avijñāya param matta etavatvam yato hi me. See, this is the next level. This is the another expression of his humility. Na andritam tava tacchapi yathamam pravishi bhoho. What you have spoken about me is not false. It is true, meaning I am not the ultimate. There is some other power behind me. So what you have spoken about me is right. It is not untruth. And the next line is beautiful. Avijñāya param matta. Without knowing that, what is the source of my power? Etavatvam yato hi me. So he says, all this appears to be my glory to those who don't know that there is something behind me. Avijñāya param. Without knowing that supreme, matta etavatvam. All this is from me. That's what people think. This is what we should have the bhav or not. When people say, oh, you are so intelligent, or you are so beautiful, or you are so wonderful, or you are so great, or whatever, they will attribute to us only because they don't know. But we know, no? We know from where it comes. Why should we feel inside, oh, my glory? It's Bhagwan's glory only. If Bhagwan stops expressing from this, all beauty gone, all intelligence gone. In 1 minute, the dumb can become eloquent and a fool will become intelligent. Kalidas, what a fool he was, cutting the branch of the tree on which he is sitting. Now we think like that about Kalidas ji, that are what a fool he was. But we are also doing same thing only, cutting the branch on which we are sitting. This culture which has beautifully, gloriously nurtured us, we are only cutting and destroying it or not. This body also is like a branch of a tree or not. The body is given to us to realize the absolute truth. Living in the body, we could realize the truth. That is the best use of the body. But living in this body, we are destroying this body, is like cutting the branch only. How different are we from Kalidas? We may laugh, what a fool he was. He didn't have even that much brain. But that is a symbolic analogy. How many people have betrayed this country or not? The same country which has nurtured them, nourished them, they betray this country only. Even today is happening or not. People who are out there, frontline workers who are serving, who are risking their life to take care of people and the patients and all of them, people are doing violence against them only. Throwing stones on them and injuring them and what not is happening, all foolishness. As equal to Kalidas, what else it is? But when Mother Saraswati gave darshan to Kalidas, that dumb fool became intelligent. What all he wrote after that? With Bhagwan's grace, what he said in the Gita, Balam balavatam chaham kamaraga vivarjitam. That is one line. Another shloka says, Buddhi buddhimatam asmi tejas tejas vinamaham. I am the strength of the strong, devoid of attachment and selfish desire. Kama raga vivarjitam. And he also said, I am the intelligence in the intelligent. So physical strength, mental strength, intellectual strength, and tejas vinamaham. Any brilliance which is there is Bhagwan's brilliance only. So we should remember, especially spiritual students, seekers, we should remember this, कि people may praise. If people praise, we have to credit it to Bhagwan. Simple way to do it is remember Bhagwan's name at that time and say, Bhagwan, it is your account. My bank account is 0. Any credit goes to your account. No deposit in my account. My ego account has to be 0. Give out whatever little balance is there, give it up. Because it's a false balance. It is not true. It is all Bhagwan's balance only. It is his work. So he says, Avijñāya param. You can credit it to the Satguru or you can credit it to the Lord, either of them. But know that. Because people in the world sometimes may not know. They may not even believe. Some of them are non-believers. Some of them they will not remember Bhagwan. Accept Bhagwan. They will say, we don't know all that, but you are the main thing. You have done it. We came to congratulate you. You are dear to us. And sometimes they will say, no, but you are the instrument or the medium through which we are connecting to Bhagwan or God. So for us, you are important. That time the mind should also not take that to the head. Saying, I'm a special instrument. This ego is very tricky. It will come. It just comes. And when somebody praises, it sounds like Amrit to our ears. And we remember it also. Oh, this person said like this about me and like that about me. We get self-validation. This is how Maya plays or not. Ego and this Maya, they are like this. How they play. What is meant to surrender, what is meant to help us to surrender this ego, it becomes a means to validate the ego. Spiritual knowledge. That's how Maya traps. That's called Sattvic Maya. It will trap through knowledge. Oh, I can give such beautiful talks, and nobody can compare to my talks, and nobody, has so much of following. Something or the other, it will come to the head. Why? Because Avijñāya param. They don't know, but we are to every day reading this, studying this. What should be our bhav? Not me, the Lord alone. Even if they say, but we are connecting through you, we say, Bhagwan, you please connect to them. I am nobody. Because honestly, without us, will this connection stop? Bhagwan will find so many instruments are there, they will go connect. Each one's karma only. Arjun was told or not? That even without you, these other people will die. You just be a nimitta. Meaning, I am not indispensable. So at the moment, if they are connecting to the Lord through me, it is Lord's glory, not my glory. Brahmaji is saying that, you see. Avijñāya param matta etavatvam yato hime. That is ignorance. People think that it is all belonging to me, but that's because they don't know the Supreme. In the world, it will always be like this only. People fight to get credit. Resentment is there if the credit is not given. I'm not saying, see, it has its own place in the world out there, competitive world and the career world and all that. It may have its own place. There's nothing, I'm not telling it is bad or any such thing. What I'm trying to say is, for a spiritual seeker to evolve, to realize that Supreme Divine, this must be very clear to us, that there is no sense of ego inside us. Whatever glory is there, it belongs to the Lord, it belongs to the Guru Parampara, it doesn't belong to me. Nothing. So when somebody praises, instead of feeling great inside, mind must become immediately alert and say, Bhagwan, all this is your glory. When somebody comes and praises us, sometimes they prostrate also. We tell, remember Bhagwan's name. And this is very beautiful. Beautifully explained by Gurudev. So when somebody was prostrating to Gurudev, you know what Gurudev said? He said, I am only a postmaster. My job is to deliver what you post. So I deliver it to Bhagwan. I am only postmaster. Like you go to a post office, you give the letter. What will the postman do? He will see the address and then go and deliver accordingly. Same way, he said, I am a postmaster. Such a nice analogy, think about it. He said, I am a postmaster. What you offer, I deliver to Bhagwan. Bhagwan will deliver whatever he has to deliver. He doesn't need me. He can deliver directly also. That bhav he had, you see. When even in his expressions, he used to express like that so many times. When somebody asked him that, Swamiji, when will you come next? He said, whenever Narayana wills, I will come. After that, he may some point in time give some date or something, but this is his bhav. What is in the depth comes out immediate. No, he says, whenever Narayana wills, I will come. So that is the bhav that a seeker must have. If Brahmaji is setting this example as a creator, then all the creatures also can follow. So avijñāya param matta etavatvam yato hime. Yena svarochisha vishvam rochitam rochayamyaham. Yatha arko gnir yatha somo yatharkshagraha tarakaha. So now, which is a very nice line. Yena svarochisha vishvam. One who enlivens this whole universe by himself, by his glory, his power. Yena svarochisha vishvam. Rochitam rochayamyaham. So he says here that I manifest the universe, which stands manifested by the self-effulgent Lord, much in the same way as the sun and fire, moon and the other planets, as well as the other stars and the lunar mansions, illumine it, even though it stands illumined by the Lord. Meaning the sun, the moon, the stars, all of these are illumining the world, but they are illumined by what? They are actually illumined by the Lord, because through the Lord's power only sun has power to give light, moon has power to give coolness, fire has the power to have heat and light to anything around. So what we chant, no, na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam, that. He says, just like they have power which appears to be their power, but it is actually Bhagwan's power. In the same way, it is that self-effulgent Lord, because of whom this whole creation happens, but people think it is my creation. Like we think power of sun is sun's power. But there is a power behind that sun. Now what is more intelligent to believe? To think of sun as a gross entity or a star which is ball of hydrogen, helium, and is going to perish sometime. That's a sthula drishti, that's a gross vision. Subtler vision is to understand what is that power which makes that sun also give light. Definitely it is not a material power. It is something which is much beyond the material realm. And so that's the analogy that he gives here, that yena svarochisha vishwam rochitam rochayamyaham. I am enlivened by that Lord and then I do this creation. And who is that Lord? He is svarochisha. He is self-effulgent. What we call Swayambhu, self-effulgent. So this is another nice point. Those of you who know Vedanta, we can understand. So from standpoint of Sat, existence, we say the truth is self-existent. meaning it has not been created by anybody else. There is no cause for it. It is the causeless cause, ultimate cause of the universe. So from such standpoint, what is Swayambhu? From Chit standpoint, it is Swarochisha. It is self-illumining. Thoughts are illumined by the self. Emotions are illumined by the self. Sense perception are illumined by the self. Objects are illumined by the self. Who illumines the self? Self is self-illumined. Swayam Jyoti, Swayam Prakash, Swarochisha. It is that. So from such standpoint, it is self-existent. Swayambhu. From Chit standpoint, it is Swaprakasha or Swarochisha. From Anand standpoint, what it is? That is your homework. I gave you two. You find one. Tell me next week. What is it from Anand standpoint? That it is called of its own bliss. So, yena swarochisha vishvam rochitam rochayamyaham yathar kognir yatha somo yathar kshat grahatarakaha. Tasmai namo bhagavate vasudevaya dhimahi janmayaya durjayaya mam bruvanti jagadgurum. Salutations to that Supreme. Now the first time he has mentioned this. He expressed that there is a power behind me. Now that power is mentioned specifically here. Now, what is that power? Tasmai namo bhagavate. So to that Supreme Lord, Vasudevaya dhimahi. Now Vasudeva here does not mean Krishna, okay? This is one word given here to refer to Narayana himself. But why is it called Vasudeva? Because, see, Vasudeva does not mean only the son of Vasudeva. Etymological meaning is different. As a avatar, Shri Krishna, when he took, yes, at that time it is, you can say he is a son of Vasudeva, so Vasudeva he is called. Vasayati, vas means to stay. Vasayati sarvan hridayan sadevaha vasudevaha. One who is enlivening the hearts of all, who lives in the hearts of all, is Vasudeva. Is consciousness. See, if somebody wants to meditate on Shri Krishna as ultimate supreme creation, supreme Lord, there is nothing wrong in that. But what I mean to say here is this Vasudeva here does not mean only Krishna. Here it means that Supreme Lord, Narayana only, Vishnu, Mahavishnu, who appears as Vasudeva. So to that Supreme Lord, Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhimahi, I meditate on that Lord and I prostrate to that Lord, surrender to that Lord. Yan Mayaya, it is because of his Maya that this whole creation happens, which is very difficult to cross. Durjayaya, Mam Bruvanti Jagat Guru. And people call me as the creator. Why? Because it is because of his delude, because of his Maya that deludes people, that people don't know him and they call me as the creator of the universe. Yan Mayaya Durjayaya. Vilajjamanaya yasya sthatumiksha pathe muya. Vimohita vikathante mamahamiti durdhiyaha. So now he says here that bewildered by that Maya, vilajjamanaya yasya sthatum iksha pathe amuya. So he says here that these fools wantingly speak of the body as their self. Vimohita vikathante. And because of that delusion, they speak like this. Mama aham iti durdhiya. All the deluded ones, they, what do they say? Speak of the body as the self and of all that belongs to it as mine. Although Maya is too shine even to stand the Lord's look. What does that mean? Even Maya is, although this Maya is too shy even to stand the Lord's look, means this Maya will not stand in front of the Supreme. It is at the feet of the Lord. It is a supreme power of the Lord. But deluded by this power, people forget the Lord, people forget this power of the Lord, and they think of this body as I, and what all this is owned is as mine. This is all mine. When actually it belongs to Bhagwan. If Maya itself belongs to Bhagwan, the whole creation, everything belongs to Bhagwan. But deluded, not knowing this, we think it belongs to us. So in a sense, we are the Dhritarashtra. Who is Dhritarashtra? Dhritam Rashtram Yena Saha. One who has held the country that doesn't belong to him. Technically, the country belongs to Yudhishthir because he is the eldest born among the Pandavas and Kauravas. He is the eldest, first born he is. And also Dhritarashtra was only the caretaker king. If he had a child which was born first, even then it is his child who should have been ruling, not him. Now Yudhishthir became the first one, so he should be ruling the whole kingdom, not Dhritarashtra. But that is what it is. So when we own something which doesn't belong to us, we are called the Dhritarashtra. And how funny it is, you see. This whole world which doesn't belong to us, we capture some part of it and then we say, this is mine, that is mine. And when Bhagavan takes a form and he comes and takes the butter, we call him Chor. Makhan Chor. Are he is not the Chor, we are the Chor. It is his only. The whole creation belongs to him, including that Makhan. You may hide it somewhere in the house. The house also belongs to him. He coming into his house, whichever way he wants, he can come. What is the problem? He can come through window, or he can come through door, or he can break it open and come. It is his house. No, it's my house. He came into it. That is only delusion. Even today, when we live, how do we live? This is my house. Bhagwan has a small corner. That is called puja room. And some places there is no room also. There is no corner also. In some dabba, Bhagwan is sitting there. So this chota sa one dabba is there. Inside that Bhagwan is there. And the rest of the whole huge house, I am there. The bhav should be ulta. This house belongs to Bhagwan. I am the servant of that Lord in this house. With that bhav, one should stay. No, that is not practical. Okay. Continue, then what else can be done? The bhav has to be different. Who is telling to change anything else? You want to change out of bhav, please change. That is also good. Give some good, nice place to Bhagwan. No, Swamiji, in Mumbai it is very costly. That money also came from Bhagwan only. No, but practical reasons are there. Whatever it be, that is your choice. The point is simple. Bhav is what Bhagwan wants. If Brahmaji has that bhav that the whole world belongs to Bhagwan, Maya also belongs to Bhagwan, but by deluded by that Maya, now I am thinking that this is belonging to me, this body is I, and these things are belonging to me. And now for that, how much war, Bapre? How much human being kills each other? For what? For land, for gold, for wealth, for fame, for ego. When the whole thing doesn't belong to us only. How silly and stupid it sounds. What is not mine, over that I am fighting, killing each other. And as though it is going to remain with me forever. That also is not going to happen. This body is only not going to remain. How will things in the world remain? And using this body for those, getting those things and fighting, looting, murdering, killing, oh Bapre. That is samsara, ghor samsara. And the saddest part in this whole thing is it doesn't pain also. If somebody is trying to seek the Lord, people get insecure. But if somebody is going the worldly way, they are very happy. How strange is that? If anybody's child wants to become a brahmachari, they will all start becoming jittery. Many people don't send their children to the spiritual institution because they think, "Arey, to sadhu ban jayega." Arey, he'll go if he becomes a real sadhu. He is going on the path of evolution or not? No, no. But if he goes into drugs, he goes into disco, he goes into any of that thing, then it is normal. And where have we come to today? Father and son sit together and drink. That is a samskar father is giving. That is called open-mindedness and liberal attitude. Where is our culture and where is this one? Where have we come to? Their one is very secure. And that shows some maturity that father and son can share a drink. Arey, father and son should share knowledge. See this father and son, Brahmaji and Naradji. What question is asking his father and what reply Brahmaji is giving to him. That is mature conversation, father and the son. No, no, but they are Brahmaji and Naradji. We are not like that. Human mind goes on giving some justification. And when pain and sorrow comes, then one says, oh, how to get out of this? The karma you did, what else? Each one of us do some such karma to then go through pain, sorrow, suffering. So what is not mine? Why am I holding on to it? People don't belong to me. Things don't belong to me. Body doesn't belong to me. Including the mind also doesn't belong to us. It belongs to 5 elements. It came from 5 elements. You will see ahead. Senses, mind, everything came from the 5 elements which came from Bhagavan. What belongs to me? Nothing. In that, if I realize that, I will realize I am that Supreme Lord. That's a beautiful aspect. So what am I losing for what? I am holding on to one little small thing. This is me. These are mine. Now I'm not wanting to drop that. And I'm forgetting that my true essence is that Vasudeva. Om Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhimahi. That Vasudeva is that enlivening power in the heart of all. So I am that infinite truth. That Maya, which will not stand the look of that Vasudeva, I am that Vasudeva. As a pure consciousness. But today, I am deluded by that Maya because I have a Jiva Bhav now and I am holding on to this as I and then the things around me as mine. Now stuck. So that's what he says, Vimohita vikathante mamahamiti durdhiyaha. More of this we will continue in our next week's class. We will sing the Arati of the Lord. You know, this Bhagavatam is such. Sometimes I think that, okay, today we will cover some of these verses or this particular chapter we will cover. Doesn't happen only. Especially some of these portions are very nice because if you remember, the second chapter is the heart of Bhagavatam. It has less number of discourses, but it is solid philosophy which is stuffed inside this second chapter. So we'll go as per Lord's will, how much ever time it takes. Our job is to remember Bhagavan. What else? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.